ना मैं कभी किसी के सामने झुका हूं। पाकिस्तानियों, कभी आपको किसी के सामने झुकने नहीं दूंगा।
Prime Minister of Pakistan have been very busy lately covering major international forums and highlighting many factors such as the manipulating concept of radical Islam, issue of Kashmir, many other relating issues. To know more about the recent events of the visit of PM Imran Khan, you can see the link in the description. Prime Minister Imran Khan during his interview in Council on Foreign Relations were asked a question about the Taliban being the controlling power in Afghanistan. But Imran Khan presented an answer with full open-minded approach and claimed many situations have changed in Afghanistan. The American administration must accept the fact that the Taliban of 2019 are not the same Taliban that they were used to be in 1990s.
Look, here was someone who kept saying that there's never going to be a military solution in Afghanistan. I kept telling Pakistan government whenever I had a chance. I came here in 2008. President Obama had not taken office. I spoke to senior Democrats. I told them that there will never be a military solution in Afghanistan simply because I have read the history of Afghanistan. You just have to read the history. They fight each other. The moment a foreigner comes through, they all get together and the resistance starts. Started with the British, 3 times the British tried. The Soviets killed 1 million Afghans. There was still, the resistance was stronger after 1 million Afghans had been killed. So I kept trying to tell this. I tried to explain to, I remember meeting Joe Biden, John Kerry, Harry Reid. I tried to explain, and I realized they hadn't a clue. No one understood Afghanistan. The politicians didn't understand what was going on. And this madness kept going on, and Pakistan kept being blamed. Now, Pakistan had 2 right now, but it had even more. We have 2.7 million Afghan refugees in Pakistan. There are camps of 500,000 refugees living there. How do we know who's coming in and going out? Clearly, this was not from Pakistan, the idea that there were these insurgents going from Pakistan. How are we? First of all, the tribal area bordering Afghanistan, there is no border there. The Durand line is a line made by the British, which there is no border there. Now we are fencing the border. Because of the allegations that fighters are going from Pakistan, we are fencing the border. We've also time and time said that, look, if you want Pakistan to completely stop anyone going across, then take the refugees back, 2.7 billion people. But it's not possible that that 2.7 million refugees there and expect Pakistan to completely shut the border. Having said that, I do not think that it's because of Pakistan the US has not been able to succeed in Afghanistan, simply because there is a history behind it. It was never going to happen. And fortunately, President Trump has done, by him forcing there to be a dialogue, and then this peace deal, which was just about to be signed. This is painful for us. The peace deal was about to be signed, and President Trump has, we read it in the papers. I mean, we should have at least been discussed with us. But now I'm meeting President Trump later on, and I will try and tell him that, look, there's not going to be a military solution. For 19 years, if you have not been able to succeed, you're not going to be able to succeed in another 19 years.
On 23rd of September, Prime Minister Imran Khan on the sideline mentioned the reaction and role of the whole world on Kashmir issue. Imran Khan posed a question by quoting the example of their own people being under siege like the people of Kashmir. What would their leaders and the world forums would have done?
To be absolutely frank, I am a bit disappointed by international community. I'm disappointed first because, if 8 million Europeans were put under siege like this for 50 days, or Jews were put under siege, or Americans were put on siege. Well, forget Americans, even 8 Americans were put under siege. But I'm talking about any other. I mean, would the reaction have been the same?
Imran Khan stated that his visit to New York is about making the world realize that two nuclear powers will at some point in the time will come face to face with each other.
I would not really have come out at this time. But I came out to New York only because I felt that unless we highlight what is going on in Kashmir, the world is not going to know. Neither will the people know the oppression that is going on, nor will the world understand that this is just the beginning. It's going to get worse. And there's a potential that two nuclear-armed countries will come face to face at some stage.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan on 27 September 2019 addressed the United Nations General Assembly for the first time. It was a passionate speech that felt more spontaneous than most others and touched on several important issues. Kashmir in direct response to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who spoke shortly before Khan. The struggle of poor nations towards development, the necessity to hold wealthy people accountable in order to achieve a more just society. Perhaps the most powerful and passionate part of his 50-minute speech was a plea to the world leaders to end Islamophobia. Imran Khan said that he had always hoped whenever he had a chance to take such a prominent global stage, he will use it to clear some of the misunderstanding surrounding Islam and its followers, and the responsibility of both Western and Muslim leaders in fostering it. About suicide attack, because the 9/11 bombers did suicide attacks, all sort of theories came out, like those about virgins in heavens. The bizarre thing happened where suicide attacks were equated with Islam. No one bothered researching the Tamil Tigers and the Japanese kamikaze bombers. No one blamed religion when they carried out suicide attacks, and rightly so, because no religion teaches violence. Imran Khan posed a very important question in which he said, how is a person in New York, in a European country, or in the Midwest of the US going to distinguish between who's a moderate Muslim and who's a radical Muslim?
My third point is Islamophobia. There are 1.3 billion Muslims in this world. There are millions of Muslims living in other countries, European countries, in the US, as minorities. Islamophobia, since 9/11, has grown at a pace where it is alarming. Human communities live together. There should be understanding amongst them. But Islamophobia is creating a division. Muslim women wearing hijab, it's become an issue. It's become an issue in some countries. Hijab is some sort of a weapon. A woman can take off her clothes in countries, but she can't put on more clothes. How is this happening? Because of Islamophobia. And how did this Islamophobia start? After 9/11. And why did it start? Because certain Western leaders equated terrorism with Islam. Islamic terrorism. Radical Islam. What is radical Islam? There is only one Islam, and that is the Islam we follow of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is no other Islam. Radical Islam, Islamic terrorism, what message did they send to people in the West? And why is there Islamophobia? How is a person in New York, in the Midwest, in the US, in European capital, how is he going to distinguish between who is a moderate Muslim and who's a radical Muslim? Because terrorism has nothing to do with any religion. This Islamic terrorism, Islamic radicalism, and sadly used by leaders, this has been the main reason for this Islamophobia. And it has caused pain amongst Muslims. We in Muslim countries watch this Islamophobia traveling abroad, and it's getting worse. And may I just say, Mr. President, that in European countries, it is marginalizing Muslim communities. And we all know that marginalization leads to radicalization. Some of the people who ended up as militants in Syria and other places were from marginalized Muslim communities. And my point here is that we must address this issue. I'm sad to say that we Muslim leaders have not addressed this issue either. After 9/11, when this thing came about war against radical Islam, rather than Muslim leaders trying to explain to the West that there is no such thing as radical Islam, in all human communities, they are radicals. They're liberals and rest are moderate. All human communities, Christians, Jews, everyone has it. But Islam is not radical, neither Judaism, neither Christianity, neither Hinduism. No religion preaches radicalism. The basis of all religion is compassion and justice, which differentiates us from the animal kingdom.
Imran Khan made very clear and very obvious statement in which he stated that I always imagined what I would say and educate the world about Islam if I ever stood on this forum. In Western society, the Holocaust is treated with sensitivity because it hurts the Jewish community. So that's the same respect we ask for. Do not hurt our sentiments by maligning our holy prophet, peace be upon him. That is all we ask. Before mentioning Kashmir, Imran Khan stated that I know that India keeps saying we have militant organization, but I invite United Nations observers to come and see for themselves. Secondly, we started mending fences. Imran Khan mentioned a good relationship with India based on his cricket career. The first move that Imran Khan made was to take Prime Minister Modi on similar terms that both countries are facing, like poverty and climate change. Meanwhile, a Kashmiri boy radicalized by Indian forces blew himself up on an Indian convoy. Immediately, India blamed Pakistan. I told India to give us any proof and we would act. We had actual proof of Indian intervention in some terrorist attack in our Balochistan province. We even caught their spy Kulbhushan Yadav, who admitted to crimes. He also mentioned the return of the Indian pilot that was caught and then released to show peace and goodwill gesture of Pakistan. India agenda and its unrelatable hatred towards Pakistan and the abrogation of the Article 370 Kashmir.
Rather than sending us any proofs, they sent their jets in, they bombed us. We retaliated. Two of their planes were shot down, one pilot bailed out in Pakistan. We immediately returned the pilot, saying that, look, we do not want any escalation. Rather than taking that as a peace gesture, the entire campaign, almost the entire campaign of Mr. Modi in the election was how he had taught Pakistan a lesson that jets had killed 350 terrorists. Complete lie. They had just killed about 10 trees of ours, which was quite painful given that, we are growing all these trees. He then the election campaign, Mr. Modi used words like, this is just a trailer, the movie is about to start. I went into Pakistan and taught them a lesson. This was the election campaign. Okay, so we thought, us politicians make all these statements to win elections. So, okay, after elections, we'll get back to our normal relationship. Well, the moment the elections ended, we approached India no response. But then we discovered they were trying to push us in the FATF blacklist to bankrupt us. That's when we realized there was an agenda. And that agenda became obvious on the 5th August when India went against 11 United Nations Security Council resolutions, which say that Kashmir is a disputed territory and the people of Kashmir have the right of self-determination. They went against that. They went against Simla Accord, which is about bilateral, sorting out our differences through bilateral means, went against that. They actually went against the Indian Constitution. Illegally, they revoked Article 370, which gave Kashmir the special status. They got an extra 180,000 troops there. Total number of security forces in Kashmir now are 900,000. And they put 8 million people of Kashmir under curfew.
At the ending part of his address, he pointed out the relation and activities of RSS and the involvement of Prime Minister Modi.
Mr. Narendra Modi is a life member of RSS. RSS was an organization that was inspired by Adolf Hitler and Mussolini, came about in 1925. They believed in racial purity, racial superiority. They also believed they were an Aryan race like the Nazi believed they were an Aryan race. All that I'm saying can be verified. This is the time of information revolution. You can Google all this, what I'm saying. But it is very important for me to explain this to you so you know what is happening in India. This RSS believed in the ethnic cleansing of Muslims from India. At one point, there was racial superiority of the Hindu race. Secondly, it was hatred for the Muslims and for the Christians. This is openly stated. You look at the founding fathers of RSS, Golwalkar and Savarkar. Just Google them and you'll find out. And this ideology of hate is what murdered the great Mahatma Gandhi in 1948. It was this ideology of hate that made Narendra Modi in 2002 do a pogrom against Muslims in Gujarat when he was the chief minister. He allowed 3 days for these RSS goons who were inspired by the Hitler brown shirts. They actually wear brown shirts. This RSS, the Congress Home Minister gave a statement that in RSS camps, terrorists are being trained. And these terrorists butchered 2,000 Muslims and 150,000 Muslims were made homeless. Narendra Modi could not travel to the US because of that. And I need to make you understand this background before I explain to you that what sort of a mindset would lay siege to 8 million people with 900,000 troops. Women, children, sick people, locked in as animals. In fact, of what I know of England, if 8 million animals were locked in, the RSPCA would have made a lot of noise about it. These are human beings.
India's incompetence is leaking through the cracks of the Kashmir issue. Imran Khan stated that what will happen when the curfew is lifted? Modi says this is done for the prosperity of the Kashmir. But what will happen when 8 million Kashmiri come out of a lockdown and face 900,000 troops? I fear that there will be a bloodbath. The way Kashmiris are caged like animals in homes, their political leadership arrested, even pro-Indian ones, 13,000 boys picked up and taken to unknown locations. Youngsters blinded with pellets, This will only lead to further radicalization. We fear another Pulwama incident, and for that, India will again blame Pakistan. India Foreign Minister says Pakistan has 500 terrorists waiting on the border. What will 500 terrorists do against 0.9 million troops? They just want an excuse, the catchword and mantra of Islamic terrorism. At the end of his address, Prime Minister Imran Khan warned about the possible nuclear war between the two countries.
Supposing a country 7 times smaller than its neighbor is faced with the choice, either you surrender or you fight for your freedom till death, what will we do? I ask myself this question. And my belief is, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but one. And we will fight. And when a nuclear armed country fights to the end, it will have consequences far beyond the borders. It will have consequences for the world, which is why I repeat I'm here. Because I'm warning you, it's not a threat. It's a fair worry that where are we headed? And I've come here to tell the UN, you've got to, this is a test for the United Nations. You are the one who guaranteed the people of Kashmir the right of self-determination. They are suffering because of that. And this is the time. This is the time not to appease like in 1939 appeasement took place. This is the time to take action. And number one action must be that India must lift this inhuman curfew, which has lasted for 55 days. It must free all political prisoners, and especially those 13,000 boys that have been picked up. Parents don't know where they've disappeared. And then the world community must give the people of Kashmir the right of self-determination. Thank you.
Prime Minister Imran Khan addressed in the General Assembly in the best possible manner. The international media is also mentioning it as a great speech. Mr. Imran Khan's address had 4 parts, but there are some missing strategical aspects. This is not the first time that someone has made a speech with such a conviction and emotions. Of all the historical facts and figures and current situations are well known to the figures who were present in the United Nations General Assembly. Prime Minister Imran Khan should have mentioned about the future vision of Pakistan and its implementation of new policies. There should have been a vision to show the world that we welcome everyone with open arms to come and join us to strengthen socio-political and socio-economic domains.